Connect MKE is sponsored by U.S. Bank. The stock market is booming, gold prices are rising, but many Americans aren't feeling good about their personal economic situation. Squeezed by continuing inflation, rising costs for groceries and housing, slower wage growth, and the threat of tariffs driving some prices even higher, many Americans are feeling a serious economic pinch. The economy is impacting more than short-term financial concerns. According to a recent U.S. Bank survey, some Americans are giving up on the idea of ever owning a home. This may be a good time to review how your money works for you and to make sure that you know exactly where your money is going. We have someone here today to help us do just that. Nina Johnson, Senior Vice President, Wisconsin Branch Banking Market Leader for U.S. Bank, is here with us in the studio. Thank you so much for being with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Denise. It's an honor to be here once again.
Well, one of the things that we really want to talk about is budgets, right? Because budgets should be driving how you're spending and saving your money. Is this a good time for people to really sit down and review their budgets?
It's the perfect time for budgeting. And, when we think about budgets, we have to understand that budgets move as we grow, as we develop, as we evolve, as people who are bringing in income and also spending each day. Your budget is a moving target. And if you assess it and put benchmarks into your schedule, you'll align with what's happening in the moment. So when you just talked about the economy and also the wonderful accomplishment that U.S. Bank achieved recently with the Wealth Survey, you can kind of pinpoint where you need to go within your own personal aspirations as it pertains to your budget. When we think about the debts we owe and the expenses that continue to move on into your future, those debts, the expenses could be short-term or long-term. But when we look at it, we have a strategy around it and we build it into a plan that supports tangible impact on your bottom line personally, you feel a lot better about the outcome. And I think the confidence level will increase as well. When we look at budgets overall, there's two components to a budget. If anybody has taken any class in school around expense or financial awareness, you know that there's two components that are key to your budget. One is your income, your amount of money you're bringing in, tangible money that you can spend, and then also expenses. So between the cash that you have and the expenses that you use each day, you understand that the budget is something that moves as you continue to evolve as consumers.
About 75% of all Americans have a budget of some kind. That means that 25% do not. Where should people start if they don't have a budget and they need to put one in place?
So there's a interesting thing that people don't acknowledge sometimes. They just don't realize it, which is your banker. That's the best place to start. And we are here to help. It's just that we need to be aware of where you are. And when you go to your local U.S. Bank branch, we can actually talk to you about a CD, which is a certificate of deposit if you're thinking about saving. If you're thinking about doing something short-term, like saving money for emergency purposes, those are things that your banker can assist you with. And then if you want to talk about long-term strategies, we actually have wealth advisors available to assist you in that area as well.
One other thing that U.S. Bank has is an app. And the bank app can also really assist you as you're putting that budget together and you're trying to stay on track, because you can look at it and it's all right there.
You sound like a U.S. Bank customer. Thank you for that. Yes, the app is amazing. And if you are a U.S. Bank customer, you do have tools at the discretion of your cell phone, believe it or not. And it's a wonderful resource that you can use as well.
So we've talked about money coming in, expenses, money going out. What should people be doing during these times to think about saving? How do you begin to save if you feel like your bottom line is really crunched?
Yes. So let's take a step back and look at two kinds of savers. You have the individual who has a budget. They may have established that budget years ago, And for some reason, things have shifted around them. In that scenario, the individual should really consider reassessing their budget and pulling their banker into the conversation, because that banker is going to give them some what if scenarios to help them plan for the next phase of their journey, whatever that is. That's scenario one. Scenario two is the person who has never had a budget, the 25%. In that case, that individual should definitely start with the banker. They're starting from the ground up. They should definitely have an idea of what those scenarios could be that could pull from their budget, pull from their savings, and they can plan ahead to properly put money aside, whether it's a certificate of deposit, a money market fund, which are reasonably priced right now. Those are opportunities to start saving and be proactive in strategically putting money where it needs to be for a rainy day or a future long-term goal that is needed.
How important is it to have both those short-term and long-term financial plans if you're going to be successful in making your money work for you?
It's vitally important. And I think for what we're seeing right now as people are trying to navigate what could potentially impact their bottom line, you want to make sure that emergency fund is available. Months of emergency cash in case something goes wrong with your car. We were just talking about that. I think that's a great example. Something goes wrong. Your transmission goes out. You need some emergency money. If there is a long-term plan to buy a home, to send your children to college, those are also ways to really pull in dollars and be strategic in how you set them aside for future need. The other thing is when you're talking about the monetary aspect of just supporting your financial portfolio, there's something to be said about just maximizing your savings in one place. Years ago, diversification was the term. Everybody talked about spreading your savings amongst multiple institutions. But when you think about the benefits, the rewards, and potentially a higher rate of return based on a lump sum of money being in one institution, that's also something your banker can assist you with, or your wealth advisor can assist you with at that point.
When people feel crunched, but they have needs, one of the things that they may turn to is their credit card. How do people manage and use that credit card when times are tight?
Credit is something that can be a benefit if used wisely. And so when you're looking at using credit, whether it's a loan or a credit card, I would use the same methodology, which is to make sure that you are looking at the interest rate, determining what the term of the loan is, also setting up a game plan on when you plan to repay the money that you've used out of the credit line or credit card, because you don't want to have the credit out there forever. The goal is to help you in a period of time consume whatever you're trying to consume or pay off what you're trying to pay. But if you have a plan around how you secure credit, how you access a loan, then, it could really benefit you. The important part of that is maintaining a positive FICO score and credit score. So if you're managing your credit wisely, then in times of emergency and times of need, you can maximize your available credit to support you in a pinch.
And I do want to get back to something you've mentioned a couple of different times, and that is having a discussion with your banker. If someone's hit a rocky spot financially, they may actually be a little embarrassed to talk with their banker. But that time when you might be embarrassed may actually be a really good time.
That's the best time. There's no reason to feel like, this hasn't happened to anyone but me, because it's happened to everyone. Everyone has gone through a moment in time where they need to talk to their banker about something that's personal, but then also something that's pivotal in their financial walk. So when you think about the person that you most need to talk to about your finances, I would say your banker would be top on your list. Your spouse and your banker, equally important. If you don't talk to your banker about your finances, then the back end of that is you're going to find out that, boy, you missed out on some great insight, some great opportunity, and potentially some great resources.
When tough times hit financially, it can be stressful. Are there any tips on how people can handle that stress?
First off, give yourself some grace. Don't worry about the missed opportunity or the moment in time that put you in the place that you're in. Note that, just like I mentioned before, we've all been there. We've all been there where it's like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting this. But life happens to people, and we know that, it's okay to be faced with something financially impactful to our lives that wasn't planned, wasn't expected. But when there's resources, that's when you definitely want to reach out to your banker to regain some confidence around what else can be done. And there's usually something else that we may think we know what we know about our own personal finances, but somebody else will walk in and say, "But what about this?" That's the moment where your banker can really make the shift for you and share some other opportunities with you as well.
Good advice, as always. Nina Johnson from U.S. Bank. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really do appreciate it. If you have any questions on how to make your money work better, in addition to what you've already heard, you can check in with your local U.S. Bank branch and your banker. They are always there and ready to help. We'll be right back.